I literally wore my Barbie sweatshirt today, which I had before the Barbie movie because it was so
Yeah.
popular, by the way. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
famous
Yeah. You
my
did it
friends
before it was
bought
cool.
it. Yeah. But literally, to me, it's also marketing. It's spend more of that budget on that. It's hard with the talent fees and stuff. Like, that's a whole other ballgame that I cannot speak to. I really am not an expert. I just listen to The Town, which is like Matt Bellamy's podcast everyone listens to, and talk to my friends. That was marketing. It was like experiential marketing. It was events. It was community building. It was all these things, that products that brought Barbie to life. And obviously, it's a whole thing, but I think there are a lot of lessons to learn from that project and others that have been very successful for the indie filmmaking community and the companies that are distributing them on what you need to do now to get people's attention, because we're all on fucking TikTok, which I love TikTok and I love watching videos, and those are like no budget at all. So
Absolutely. And I think that's the power of TikTok is it is democratizing the storytelling. I think honestly, and not to totally go down a TikTok hole because I absolutely could, but I'm a huge fan, and I think because of the storytelling, you discover people every day that have powerful, smart, interesting takes on things. And I'm like, who's this person? This is a person like literally sitting on their doorstep, like talking into a phone, and they're blowing my mind right now. That is the power. And again, it goes back to it's storytelling, and it's smart people saying interesting things. It's not about the budget. And TikTok day in, day out demonstrates that. No, I'm a huge fan. And I think that somewhat of the push to ban it is that threat of the powerful platform.
Pulling back the curtain.
It's pulling back the curtain on so many things. It informs so much of what I do just from a day-to-day basis, and getting where the wind's blowing and how things are happening. And you're not getting that on Instagram, or definitely not Facebook, or definitely not Twitter, or whatever it's called now. Like, it's just it is a singular opportunity. And I think that's where sort of the threat comes. It's definitely not about the country, but yeah,
for sure.
But yeah, no, I think clearly I'm a big proponent of branding and marketing and like the power of that. And I think also that, and I think this came from TikTok too, but the sort of Barbenheimer phenomenon where they're like, oh, these two films are going to like release at the same time. Who's going to win? And then it evolved into not who's going to win. It was a moment of how many people saw both and related to both. I think that was a really interesting case study in how viral marketing happens, right? Like, you can't make it happen. That just happened.
Yeah, like, I guess I'm curious. I actually don't know the origins of Barbenheimer or whatever we were calling it, but I wonder if it was someone who was like, oh, Barbie's going to be huge. How can we make sure it doesn't overtake Oppenheimer? Let's have Oppenheimer become part of that movement. And it clearly worked. Didn't it win the Oscar? I feel like I didn't. I'm pretty sure it won. So it's just like,
I think they both. You haven't seen Oppenheimer yet? I'm sure you've seen Barbie.
I love Barbie.
Yeah.
I love Barbie.
Not to shred the movie, but man, they could have taken a third of the movie out. It would have been better, just as good. And I don't know. I have a lot of opinions of that movie. I was not a fan of it. I thought there's so many better films.
It wasn't everything everywhere all at once, I'm sure.
How can you be that?
How could you be? Exactly. But I think that was a bummer to everyone that it wasn't another project in that way that felt. The feeling that Daniels created with that was just so incredible.
Yeah. I was a huge fan of American Fiction. Was fantastic. And was it Pretty Things? Poor Things.
Oh, Poor Things. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Oh wait, maybe Poor Things won, and I'm crazy. See, this is where I forget.
I think Oppenheimer won Best Picture.
Oh yeah, okay. I don't know how that happened, but I haven't seen it. Also, just FYI, I'm purely going from like Emma Stone won for Poor Things. Yeah.
Yeah, and just so amazing.
She's so good. She's
so good. Blown away by that film, honestly. But talking about communications and subversive storylines, what I loved about Barbie was how they took a really deep, people have emotional attachments to this toy that they had when they were children, right? So it's like really deep, strong emotional affiliations to this brand. And then they told a very powerful story tucked in there. And I think that's a really great example of storytelling with a purpose and a cause, but it wasn't heavy-handed. I think some people on some sides of political may have been felt a certain way about it, but I loved it for that for so many reasons. That it just really was good storytelling wrapped in this beautiful brand that it all made sense the way that they did it. And it could have not been that. And I think that's why the movie was so powerful it could have been another Transformer type movie where it's just purely a popcorn movie, and it wasn't. It was a fantastic film.
Yeah. It was original. But I
Yeah.
think that's the thing is because it felt so original, I feel like since it was a massive hit and so many folks saw it, I think we were all reminded of, oh, this is what it feels to be part of. Yeah, it was full of brand and product, but like this is what it feels to watch an original film. Like,
Yes.
and that is saying something, that's hitting chords and things, even for any type of person. So I think that's the original piece of it. And we just saw Love Lies Bleeding, and I can't stop talking about that film. And
That's
it's
next on my list.
so,
Yeah.
and so I think as the filmmaker, like screenwriter in me is just feeling, I think it can unlock a lot in our society if we can get back to that type of storytelling instead of being so obsessed with just the brand marketing of it all. And I will say there's some like Barbie, but like other projects that do a good job at that. Like the Lego movies are so fun. And I think that was another fresh take on a brand, a product in that way. But
yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest challenges these days too is it's just the volume, the sheer volume of content. And as us as consumers of that content, what are your individual processes for vetting all these things? Because you've got the stream of Netflix, and they were dominant for so long, but now it's Amazon, it's Hulu, it's Paramount, they're all to one degree or another doing really great work storytelling. But it's not like when Game of Thrones came out, it was like a collective moment. Like Sundays, you could walk down the street and you would just see the TVs on, like, and it's tough to get there again because of just the sheer volume of it and standing out. And I think, yeah, marketing plays a part of that. I think the sort of viralification of the TikTok, how that sort of plays, like things bubble up on TikTok and then filter into other platforms. So it's interesting and it's challenging. It's super challenging to cut through the clutter.
viewing moment, it's really hard to get that now, the collective viewing experience.